And there we are. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you might be in the world. Bruce was here, but then he wasn't here because his cheap Chinese camera died on him. And just thought we'd better get a mention out to our colleagues in industry who are fighting the good fight as they struggle to get a fair wage. Who wants to enlighten the others as to why I might have put a strike notice up on the front of this? Enlighten the others.
Because you're thinking of going on strike.
Oh yeah, that's it. But who has gone work to rule? Start for 10. Does anyone in the comments? I don't know if anyone in the comments is from the UK. No, I don't think anyone's from the UK yet. No, the Civil Aviation Authority. What they've done, work to rule, isn't it, or something now in the UK?
The rumor. Yeah,
that's the rumor, and yet they're working to rule. So the Gatwick churnings and machinations will be getting slower and slower and slower. Oh, hello. Is it back? He's back. Is he back?
I'm afraid.
Is he back? There he's back. He's back in
Japanese camera.
Yeah,
I put more coal in my camera. It ran out of coal.
Not fair enough. But this picture reference, Bruce, is towards the Civil Aviation Authority in the UK, who's gone on a work to rule.
Yay!
So back to the 70s it is. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe they want their wages to go up in line with the fees that are going up for UK RPAS operators. It's got to be. It's like double, isn't it? Something like that. Anyway.
But at least you've got rules that are made in the 21st century in the UK. Not like
well, you're arguing that your rules are falling behind, but you've got all that shielded operation stuff and things like that.
A good example, I'm doing a video on this. There was a news story in the media yesterday. Somebody captured some footage on New Year's Eve from Auckland City, the Sky Tower, their fireworks and everything. So they flew their drone and got some wonderful footage of the Sky Tower. The media picked up on it and they contacted CAA, and CAA said that they could be in big trouble because they were flying at night. They were flying over people. They were flying over property without permission. They were flying within 4 kilometers of helipads. So all those things that they have done, so they could be copping fines in the order of $3,000. But if you go online, you can do that quite legally in Canada. You can do it quite legally in the UK, deemed to be safe enough that no offence is committed. But in New Zealand, you could cop $3,000 worth of fines because our regulations are so behind the times that they just don't appreciate that with a sub 250 gram craft, these things are quite safe and reasonable. So there's footage online of guy flying his drone in central London, DJE Media, that one of those auditor guys, and it was all cleared with police beforehand. They said, yeah, away you go. There's nothing to stop you. He flew in central London. You can see the Shard and the Gherkin and all that sort of stuff, and Tower Bridge and all that. And then there's plenty of footage from Canada, people flying their sub 250s, over Montreal and Toronto and at night. It's all quite legal. If it's so dangerous that it merits a $3,000 fine in New Zealand, how come it's legal everywhere else?
I have no answers. But they must.
Hold their feet to the flames because it's unreasonably penalising people who are doing nothing wrong.
I think. Well, and
a question for you, Bruce. Does the cities in New Zealand, such as Auckland and Wellington, do they have these smart mobility projects there? Do they have that kind of stuff where there is technology which should be getting used? Is this something which happens in New Zealand?
What sort of technology?
Things like electric scooters and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
So smart mobility, that kind of stuff.
Not really. We do have some. There was some scooters you could hire, but then I think people got hurt, so I'm not sure whether that's still going or not. We're quite slow adopters. CAA claim to be what are they called? Fast followers. Our civil aviation's claim we're fast followers, but yet we're 10 years behind the times. How fast? It's not fast.
Yeah.
No, indeed. Let me just. No. So slickness off. Now, UFOs back in the news yet again, because just last night, the good people of Lincolnshire panicked around Lakenheath yet again because they're back. Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back? The UFOs are back, or aren't they?
I believe them.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, we've got this where we can see here that in the evening, despite the fact I think I noticed had gone out to say that they were doing night flights. You had the NIMBYs out there, but the phones going, "Oh, I have the UFOs. The aliens are here to probe me," and obviously taken to social media. And then it's all gone round that the drones are about again, and it turns out no, they're not. It was just the USAF doing their flights about, but thankfully they've been quick to respond to a journalist that's asked and said no, it was us just doing our normal stuff. But this just shows that once you ask people to look at the sky, that's all you're going to get is false positives about everything you put in the air.
And I
Christmas
found
is over.
Christmas is over. Yeah, this was interesting. Way back when in 2016, are you seeing that one? That's a long time.
Yeah, we can see that.
Is Shropshire a UFO sighting hotspot? Look at that UFO that was spotted in Shropshire. The flying Dorito spotted near Sleep Airfield. I mean, I think you can't really, there's no way that could be anything else. There's no other sort of aircraft that looks like that. There definitely isn't.
I saw Stargate and it looks like Ra's pyramid coming back.
Yeah, I reckon that's what it is. And then because these
like a
the
moth.
triangles. It's a powered hang glider. It's
Spoil the fun.
But I didn't realize, and that's why I used the thing. I didn't realize the whole triangle thing and black triangles like these were quite so popular. I didn't realize triangles were the shape. I always thought they were flying saucers, cups and saucers. But then what do I know?
So last century, Gary.
It is. It plainly is, isn't it? It plainly is. So those things, these things have amused me this week following this up. And I know Ian, the Lakenheath sightings were supposed to be a triangular thing, weren't they? So that was I was trying to look over that.
Yeah.
I've got a video to show you once this advert's gone. Tell me that tell me of the.
Het dreigement.
Het was a reminder of your
Anyway,
Flying instructor
I was
Lorraine
watching that
McGill
ad.
all too well the importance of
you got the sound on
Yes,
this.
yeah, that's the video I posted, was it?
We need answers, and we need to not be losing young lives like this anymore, or any life for that matter.
Across Australia last year, 27 people lost their lives in 20 general aviation crashes, ranging from small aircraft and helicopters to paragliders and home-built planes. Kahuna pilot Keith Link walked away from his own light plane crash in 2020 when the engine failed mid-flight, and thanks his training and aircraft for saving his life. He wants the Australian aviation industry to take another look at what constitutes safe flying.
I look at some of these planes, I do shake my head. They worry me.
One of the issues of concern is the different rules and standards for hobby aircraft and pilots.
The main difference between the two different types of certification is what we call instrument flight. In RAOs, we fly under visual conditions, which means no clouds, no storms, no inclement weather.
Recreational Aviation Australia's mantra is there is a pilot in every home, and says the current rules make flying accessible but safe.
We teach simple flying for simple aircraft.
The difference in regulation also extends to how crashes are investigated.
This is what I thought was
the Australian
interesting.
Transport Safety Bureau, or ATSB, doesn't always look into crashes involving recreational or hobby aircraft, and some in the industry say that means problems can go undetected.
We'll stop that there. But I thought that was the most interesting part of that. I didn't realize you'd posted that, Bruce. But yeah, I thought that was very interesting that there are different ways of investigating them. How can that be? How can
No one
that
cares
be?
about non-commercial.
It's the same. It's
They don't
actually the
count.
same here in Finland. Actually, it's the same here in Finland. They will only investigate an aviation accident if there's been a death.
Wow. Really? Wow.
Cool.
Yep.
So you can do all sorts of bad things and they won't care.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's nuts.
Because I
That's
can actually tell you a story about someone that I know who was a former actual Finnish champion skier, downhill skier, and he was an aviation nut and had his own plane, and he crashed it. He actually crashed it into a forest, but thankfully he had his instructor with him, who was giving him a kind of a crash course, if you pardon the pun.
Boom, boom.
And yeah, crashed the plane. And actually, one of the guys that works with me on the drone light shows, he's actually the air crash investigator. So whenever there's an accident and someone dies, he's one of the team that goes investigates. And he was the one that was telling me, we only go and investigate if there's a death. He said, we hear of accidents all the time, people, actually walking away and stuff, but we're not actually, we don't go and investigate. So there you go.
My flab is utterly, and there's a lot more of it since Christmas, is absolutely aghast. Because, well, in the UK, the very slightest of RPAS instance is investigated and written up and bad boyed and whatever. That's just nuts. I'm stopped in my tracks. I thought we were all going to go, that how can that be? That must be the only country in the world that does that. But I'm wrong. I'm very, very wrong. That is amazing. That is amazing. Gosh, yes, you've stopped me in my tracks. Now, what else was I going to show us? Or shall we just cut straight to Ian's hour and then come back to the other things afterwards? Should we do that? No,
why not?
Why not, indeed? Because in the newsy bits, really, there's two newsy bits, isn't there? There was the Commerce Department going over new rules to secure the drone supply chain, and you've got, I think you've got a year until March or something, wasn't it, to comment on that. There it was down there, so you can read what they're thinking there. So that's going to be one way of contributing to the Chinese drone ban. And of course, there's
big drone. It's a very big drone.
Yeah, it was. And then I thought this is Autel and Joe UV on the blacklisting, along with Aerospace CH. They make really big things, as do AVIC. But I see in our world, Autel are going to get all the news. But this lot, I mean, Joe UAV make the size of platforms that are perfect for UKR at the minute. And I thought it was very interesting that they arrived on the list. I don't know. Have we got any thoughts on that? No.
I just think that it doesn't matter what happens now. This ban's going to happen. I don't think it's going to make any difference what evidence is put or what or what any politician tries to do. I don't think they care because I think that everyone, I mean, I could be wrong. What does the rest of the panel think? I think
McCarthyism, isn't it?
I think this is going to happen.
It is.
Close the doors, trade protection.
Yep.
Yeah. It's pretty much exactly that, isn't it? And with no ability to come to the party with making their own gear at the rate that they need, and that's that people don't seem to have twigged that they. Nowhere has the ability to do it outside of China. Nowhere.
But I'm not so sure about China. I got my little DJI Neo, and had an interesting situation yesterday when the damn thing decided it was going to bugger off on its own. And I did some research, and quite a few people have had their little Neos decide, I'm a DJI first generation Phantom. I'm going back to China.
What do you think triggered it? I saw a video of a chap running along in a marina or something, or in a port, but there was a big cruise liner next to him. So I immediately thought, I wonder if they got some RF on that cruise line.
I don't think it's RF. There seems to be two things that trigger it. One of them is it reports a loss of satellites and then just goes updates home positions and goes off to some non-existent place. And the other one, which I experienced yesterday, was it was sitting there quite happily and I was walking along with it. A little gust of wind flipped it up to about 50 degrees. And that seems to have totally screwed up the IMU, and it started wobbling and shaking and going all over the place. I had to chase it and jump up and catch it. Otherwise, it was going to be gone. So it seems it's very easily disturbed. If you go beyond a certain angle of bank or roll in its autonomous mode, it just loses the plot. And if you, in a situation where for some reason it loses the satellite position, even just for a fraction, it just completely resets everything, and it just goes screaming off into the distance. And even with the remote control, people sometimes cannot regain control. So Yeah, it's interesting. I think it's a first generation DJI product. You get that sort of thing, but they seem to be remarkably silent on it at the moment. DJI, that is, and they're going to be facing because they've got a lot of people have got the insurance, and you get flyaway insurance. I think they're just going to say, "Oh, just replace it under the flyaway," but that's half the price of a new drone by the time you add it all up.
I wonder. Well, so it's just. Do you think that maybe the wind speed limit is set a little too high in your head? Maybe you're flying it out of limits.
Yeah, but even then, if it's just because it was calm, I was walking through between some buildings, and a gust of wind, just a little gust, a puff of wind came through from the side and just tipped it up. Other than that, it was in a perfectly calm place, so it wasn't being, And I've also seen other people that have banged into something, hit something, and once they've hit it, the thing just goes crazy. If you upset the IMU too much, it just can't recover, and it's all over.
So what weight drone's that again?
What weight?
Yeah,
140 grams.
Yeah, I mean, this is the trouble though. This is the thing with keeping below 250 to keep regulators happy. The thing that gets chopped off is the redundancy. So, your second or third IMU that would be there if the drone was heavier.
Yeah. But I mean,
got away.
I've got drones. All my freestyle drones have one IMU. And I've never had that problem. I can crash into things and keep on flying, and it's not an issue. And I can do flips and rolls and get all over the place.
But I mean, still the fact remains, if you've got redundancy, and it isn't, it's throughout the sense thing, and it's not just redundancy for it failing. The sample and different frequencies, so you get you end up with a better product. So you are going to get more flyaways, more issues. The lighter. If you are trying to go to a lighter weight, that's why 250 is a bit contrary to safety.
I don't know. So some people have noticed that when this happens, if it usually happens when you're recording. If you turn off the video recording, it comes off. So it looks like maybe the processor gets overwhelmed by having to do all this extra work, and you get a problem where it just can't keep up with the actual control of the craft.
I was going to say the other option though is it could actually be noise. Because with video, because that's where 3DR had the problems with the Solo, so maybe it's a noise issue for when you're recording. With the GPS, maybe you shouldn't really get it. If you've designed the entire product, these are the kind of things you should spot and address, and it shouldn't be there. But just thinking out loud with it.
In autonomous mode, it doesn't use the GPS. In autonomous mode, it uses optical flow, which is why I say don't fly it over water. Over water and it's buggered off. But and I was flying over a nice textured, well-lit surface, as they say you should do it. So it certainly wasn't anything to do with GPS.
Okay, fair enough.
But I mean, that's
the fact that it's produced by so many different options. It seems like at some stages the processor gets in a race condition and it can't keep up with all the inputs while it's trying to do something, and then it just throws up its hands and says, "I'm just going on holiday," and buggers off.
It reminds me, of those little small dogs, those little chihuahuas, right?
Yeah.
Those tiny wee dogs, right? So they can walk for 5 steps, then they're really tired, and you have to, carry them all the time,
And your handbag.
Bruce has his in his handbag. Yeah,
I keep mine in.
So the DJI Chihuahua.
But I mean, it's a lot to ask of I don't know how many grams a computer is, but it won't be many of that 150 odd grams, will it?
No, and I wonder how they get rid of the heat, because you've got your O4 FPV system, you've got a 4K camera, you've got all your flight controller systems, all in that tiny little package with no forced air cooling. It's got to get pretty warm in there. And when that happened, it was starting to warm up during the day. I think the temperature had soared to 20 degrees.
Well,
there you go.
Isn't there a new drone coming out next week? This
tomorrow,
the flip or something. So that should be a good test then as well, because that's almost the same, if not lighter, isn't it? So
no, it's actually 249. I think.
It's to get under 250. But tomorrow's the Matrice thing, isn't it? The M4 or whatever it is. But I struggle to get excited with any of these DJI launches. This one for next week, it's very interesting with the prop guard thing. And the slightly different sort of body shape. So I suppose I am more interested in that one. It seems to have quite.
How are you going to change props with that? It's going to be a big of a job, isn't it?
Yeah.
I'm sure it will just be a clip off and clip on thing. I'm sure we'll just have to get your nails into it.
Yeah, I think it was designed by a DJI spokesman.
Oh, No.
But did you see Canada are loosening up the rules on BVLOS for up to 150 kilogram craft?
Are they?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did see something. Yes, perhaps you could go through that then.
No, I don't know. I just read the headline.
No, okay, fair enough.
Because I'm not in Canada. I don't my craft that big, so yeah.
Well, of
But
course,
you
they
won't
got
need
our man
special
from.
certification. You just have to comply with certain conditions. There's no SFOC, whatever it is they normally issue to
Yeah.
allow such emissions.
Yeah, there's a few. Well, they've got AVSS, haven't they, making the parachutes there? So they've got some mitigation methods made in country, and you know, if you can't slacken things up in a country where all the people live at the bottom, basically, don't they? They have a line at the bottom right. You know, if you can't do
No one
extended
cares about a
BVLOS
few
there,
Inuits, do they?
no, and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of trees.
Yes.
Yeah,
All of it.
it's just makes sense. It could happen in the UK. It's not as ridiculous. It could happen in the UK. It's not that.
And once again, in New
Anyway.
Zealand, can't fly my 25 gram tiny whoop around my house because that's BVLOS and I could be fined.
Absolutely. So what else have we seen? Oh yes, I haven't got your great pictures ready, Steve, but the light show they were in. It seems like they were. Well, you can tell the story better than me.
I saw his video.
Yeah, well, I just released a video yesterday, just like an update. So that there was, I think I sent it to you, Gary. Anyway, the stuff. But yeah, so the flight plan was in the contract, and this is a plan that we do as well. So everyone does this, and you submit that to the Civil Aviation Authority to say that this is part of your mitigation and this is what you're doing. So it was really interesting. No surprise really from what I understood from the video. So seeing that just really confirmed, and everyone else also contacted me as well to actually just say that this doesn't look good at all. And it again, not want to point fingers, not want to say whatever, but it looks like that they had maybe even pushed the safety buffer out a little bit more, and possibly, flying over people, and that's.
I can't find that flipping picture quick enough. I should have had that ready, shouldn't I? Never mind.
It should be in your LinkedIn. It should be in LinkedIn.
That's exactly where I am now.
Well, there's too many cute kitten pictures on LinkedIn to find that. Exactly.
It sent me hours and hours and hours to do that. But how can they possibly? I was thinking about this last night. Funny enough, I wonder how many light shows did happen over this last Christmas period. I mean, there must have been lots and lots and lots and lots and lots around the world.
Yeah. I mean, well, I don't know. It's I think, and again, this is only my opinion. It's only what I think. I think there's going to be a little bit of focus on what's happening in the US. I've seen a lot of pictures and I've seen a lot of video of these operations going on and people standing pretty much next to what's happening. Not saying right next to it, but certainly very near. And that is not good. I mean, if you see the green section, for example, so if you see that green section, you would see people much within the red area next to the green, if not even closer.
Where was the audience standing
at this? But I've seen this in other light shows in the US. I think the FAA needs to have a look at what they are giving permission for. But it could
and the crowd were top right here, weren't they?
I don't know if they were in there. I
think they must have been bottom left because they're looking over water.
Yes, so they would be behind, in front of the red line, so just at the water's edge. But that red line, there should be about at least 30 meters from that red line to the people, the audience. So there should be 30 meters.
Well, they're not down here in the center.
Yes.
down here somewhere. If you can
Yeah.
see my
But
cursor,
I think it was. I think those people were a little bit more up to the right hand side. I think they were up there. I'm just again kind of judging by the video. But even if a drone would have hit that red part, there's still going to be 30 to 40, even 50 meters that drone's going to travel, because it was going fast and it was going, and it was at a fair height. So the velocity and the power, it needs to. That's why with that other image that I sent to you a couple of weeks ago, we always have a gap between the outer geofence and the audience line. So we have at least 30 meters. You want to have 40, 50, but at least 30. If the drones are lower.
So that red line. So what happens then? So if it hits the blue line, what's it? Is that the display area, or is that a no-go area?
Inside that blue line is the show box. So that's the display area, yeah.
Right.
And I don't know if they're using the blue line as the inner geofence. That it looks like maybe there's one line missing there. I don't know. But the green is where they launch from. So they launch from there. They go into the inside the blue. If it hits the blue, they should fall down. And the red is your is your second line of defense. So if it hits the red,
if it didn't stop at the blue line, why would it stop at the red? Surely, if it didn't stop the blue line, then the failsafe's not working. So the red's redundant.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what you like to think, and we've we've seen that. So we've seen drones hit the outer. So maybe they haven't actually stopped at the blue, but
maybe the blue is just a design parameter. That's where it's supposed to stay within, and then the red is there if it you're still have to exceed the blue by a little bit due to whatever. But if it's red, it should fall.
Yeah. But what happens is that when we even before we do a show, we will walk the perimeter with one of the drones. So I'll do this.
That'd be tricky, wouldn't it?
Well, no, you'd be able to do that.
I'd be able to do
Bruce.
it. Yeah. Do you want some?
You'd be able to do it, Bruce. Yeah.
So we would walk the perimeter, and we would do the edges. So we would do all the edges. So we would hit the inner geofence, and it would turn blue, and then we would hit the outer geofence, and it would turn red. So that's how you know that the geofence works, because you walk that way. Now, even if you are flying over water, you take a boat. So you always have a boat, and you take the boat out, and someone's standing there, and you have the boat driver, and you're out there, and then you say over the radio, okay, I've hit the inner geofence, okay, I've hit the outer geofence. And the pilot in command would verify that he could see that as well on the display. So that's how we test it.
Does it get any bigger? Well, I think you sort of think when I look at this, I think, well, where are the crowd going to stand to watch the display? It doesn't strike me that there's great areas around there for a crowd to be. So straight out the box, it looks like a weird place to try and have a display to me. I don't know.
So you can't look from the side, can you? There's ideal.
Yeah, Yeah.
And it also depends how the show is designed. So it just could be that the show was designed to be watched from the other side of the pond, looking, So I mean, if that was me, if this was my show, I wouldn't have anyone from after. So at that bottom part where that little pink thing is next to the red, I would have the crowd to the left of there, maybe at that little beach area. I would have the crowd starting from that way, and then and then actually going around anti-clockwise, or clockwise. I wouldn't have anyone on that right-hand side or at the top next to the red. I would have it, like half of that pond on the left-hand side. That would be the crowd. I wouldn't have anyone there because it's too risky.
Yeah, just straight from the outset, it doesn't look like I'm not a drone show operator, but you just think, well, how's that going to be a great place for lots of people to come and watch?
But
I don't get it.
But this was the point. This was why I wanted to make these videos, to make people understand that, we don't just throw these drones up, and but we do have areas that you shouldn't be, and there has to be a certain, like a certain distance, depending on the height of the drones and the velocity of the drones. So, and that's why I think that it was good. That's why this was quite. I mean, as soon as I seen this just went, okay, that's it. It just made sense to me.
All sorts of liability wordings and stuff like that in the contract, wasn't there? There was all sorts of stuff that's going to cause some rare old dances with the lawyers now. Yeah. It's quite a kerfuffle. And I think, we didn't, because there was also the beachside one that went slightly wrong. I think that's happened since, hasn't it?
I didn't really, of course, what has been reported is that someone was injured, that a drone hit.
Yeah.
But they are not saying if it was a member of the public. It could have been one of the operations. Yeah, it could have been one of the operations. So it could have been. So that could have happened when the drones were taking off. That one just didn't, because they're not really specifying that, and you haven't spoken to that person. So that's what tells me that as part of the operations team. When I looked at that show when it was happening and it was being reported, you've seen some drones coming back, but it didn't look that bad. It didn't look so bad. It looked like that maybe it was a bit windy and they lost some drones or something. And I think they got panicky and they brought all the drones back because of what happened. I think.
Yeah, fair enough.
I think they got a bit panicky.
Wasn't it the third show of that series?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
I think they had a practice, and I think that was the third show.
Yeah.
So I think you could be right. I think additions warranted why the disruption occurred. Well, yeah, that's an open book until we see the log files.
They took them off in the wrong sequence, or one took off and there was mid-air collisions and things, which could have obviously knocked IMUs out of range.
Bit like your little DJI thing.
Like the Neo. And they may have been using Neo. No, because they had sharp stabby bits on those ones, didn't they?
Sharp stabby bits.
Actually, Mitchell Roberts is saying there, none of the works if you lose GPS. I don't, and I've spoken to quite a few people, and we all have the same opinion that there was no jamming there at all. It doesn't look like jamming. So,
no, because it only affected a small number. The rest were rock solid. You would expect it to have a mass effect.
Exactly, because what hasn't been shown there, because obviously the videos of what happened in Orlando, you just see what happened and then that's it. It kind of ends. But I actually dug through. It took me about maybe 2 hours to go and find videos of the show when it continued, because people on the other side, they didn't know what happened, so they were just continuing videoing because the drones actually found the position and they got into place and then they started. Of course, it didn't look good because many drones had fallen, but the rest of the drones found their way and they actually continued. So things got okay, and that's what someone was saying in this Reddit post, is that they said that someone got a bit twitchy and launched the show and before the calibration really happened, because there's like 1 or 2 or 3 lifts that happened, and that's when they all got messed up, and then they all fell, but the other ones found their way and stuff, So, but we'll never know until the investigation comes out. So.
We should stick to gunpowder.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I see now there are shows with lasers as well. I mean, what could possibly go wrong with that?
That was stunning, I have to say. I thought that was absolutely stunning. It's probably not going to happen in the UK, probably not going to happen in Europe, but as it happened in the UAE, and it will probably be something normal that happens in the Middle East, because you can get that. But they are quite tough about lasers, because I've been doing shows with lasers, and sometimes the laser show has been delayed by a week because they couldn't get the permit, because they sometimes are quite strict about that as well, actually, I have to say. But that show looked really good, I have to say. That was quite stunning.
Apparently the Ukrainian shows are even better with all the shaped charges and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And then it's perhaps pertinent to UKR, but the 10,500 drone show. I mean, that was quite a thing in China. and that's quite a number. 10 and a half, just moving, just working out the logistics for moving them, let's say 10 kilometers to take them to the site. That's a heck of a thing in itself.
How many mid-air collisions were there, I wonder? Because we're told that one drone in the same airspace as one airliner anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Well, it's funny because that system is it's called the MODA. That's the system, and it's from China. They have been pestering me for the past 3 months now. They keep calling me, messaging me, and emailing me and stuff. The actual system looks really good. I have to say, I'm actually I've been really impressed by it. There's a company in Brazil who have this. I'm actually talking with them as well. They done a show at, I think it was Tomorrowland. There was a huge, like 250,000 people, and there was a stage in the middle. There was a DJ, and they had these drones. And the show was stunning. It was one of the most impressive things I've ever seen. It was incredible. They were so precise. It was next to a stage, so there was lots of interference going on, but the drones were steady and they were really precise. And then they done their job, and then they came back and possibly flying over people, but it's Brazil, so I don't know what the rules are. But I think that that's the 10,000 one, and that's from Damoda. And I have a feeling that they are going to be the next big thing.
But just the logistics of it, I don't understand the logistics of it. So how many?
What
would you do? Would you?
It's China.
Well, yeah, but how would you run it? Would you have one guy for 100 drones, 10 ground control stations?
You would have one person per
more than one plug. Yeah.
One person. Well, we have one person per 100 drones. That's what we have.
That was a good guess.
Sorry.
That was a good guess from me then.
Yeah. But of course, it's China, and they have the power. They have the population. They can do whatever they want. China. They can do whatever they want.
Slave labor as well. That helps.
You said it, not me.
Well, less and less so. And well, the biggest workforce in America is actually the prison workforce, make all military uniforms, helmets, belts, and all that sort of thing.
They get free accommodation.
Yeah, and they get below minimum wage. So hashtag just saying. It's that slave labor thing gets chucked out very quickly, but it's becoming less and less and less true. And it's a dangerous talking point. I think that you have to put that in perspective.
It depends whether you're a master or a slave, though, doesn't it?
It does, and I know where I sit on that particular fence. I suppose what I'm trying to say is people quickly try and what about with China, but the fact is they're still cracking on and still getting it done. So you can say what you like, they're still doing it. They're still working.
You got to break an egg to make some omelets, eh?
You do. And I know people are sort of beginning to say that some of those light shows are 2 or 3 years old with 2 or 3 year old firmware and drones or whatever. That might be the case, but they're still to date, and I'll touch some wood here, they haven't killed anyone yet. They've hurt a couple of people, but it really, the safety is pretty impressive, because if you get 1,000 general aviation aircraft flying around together, several people will die. We'll just look at that, not Confederate Air Force.
Yeah, it speaks to the intrinsic safety of
planes.
Something not acknowledged anywhere in the world by any regulator.
No, I think it does.
But I think that was obviously what happened, and of course that boy who was struck by the drone and stuff like that. And yes, it is terrible. And I don't want to say the word "but" here and to make the thing less. It's accidents are going to happen, and we have to face the fact that people will get hurt.
Watching golf tournaments, we get hit in the head with a golf ball. Was Tiger Woods or someone whacked someone in the head with a golf ball not so long ago? And life is dangerous. But it's been
three people were killed by fireworks in Hawaii on New Year's Eve, And around the world, that number would have been huge. Just that one happened to hit the headlines.
And someone is robbed on the streets of London every 5 minutes. I think they should move to a different city, that person.
Whoever that is, yeah.
I think there was 500 injuries. I think there was 500 injuries in Finland over New Year with all the fireworks. Now, again, if you take that kind of,
and do you know how many? That our news was very happy. Our local news was very happy because in Durban, in KZN, in the province I'm in, over the Christmas period there are only 250 murders. So it was good. It was a good year. It was a good year this year.
But actually, I've got a question. Wasn't there a New Year thing? Was it in Cape Town or was it in Durban with the bathtub thing or something? What was it?
Joburg, where they hoof they hoof fridges and all sorts of stuff out the top of the high-story buildings, the multi-story buildings. They do. Yeah, but I mean,
everyone's got to have a hobby.
Everyone's going to have a hobby.
Suddenly, drones and fireworks are not that bad now.
No,
there anyway, Gary. Why don't you have a drone there filming it? And I thought on TikTok, you'd have millions of views.
Yeah.
I would not go into the centre of Joburg.
It'd be too dangerous to fly a drone at night in the city.
Wait, you might get knocked down by a fridge. I don't want to lose my drone to a fridge. Come on, that'd be no good.
I would agree that the only way I would walk in that area would be in Santon. That's the only place I would walk.
I wouldn't walk in Santon in Year. Wouldn't walk it. And no, not anymore. Not anymore. Okay. But anyway, that's a different thing. But I think the lack of huge. It's very sad what happened to that lad, and it's operational reasons that loophole can be closed with operational better procedures. But the overall, thousands of these things fly. There must around the world on New Year's. There must have been thousands of drones in different shows all over the place. And how many incidents did we hear about? Same with Christmas, I think. There must have been thousands. Two. Yeah. That's all we heard about. You're exactly right. Yeah, we can measure them. And dozens of people were killed in light aircraft in America over the Christmas period, going back and forth to family. Terrible, time of year for that to happen, and terrible decisions on weather and stuff like that being made. And we don't get so excited about that. And of course, sadly, loads of people will have died on the roads as well, which is terrible. So I think overall it's a positive thing. Now imagine those 10,000 drones all had a little tiny LiDAR on them or some other data thing. They could go right across a city in a formation of 10,000 in 10 minutes. Just imagine the mapping that lot could do. That would be amazing, wouldn't it? So we're going to see there's going to be other, and then of course there's the UKR thing that will happen with them. But this swarm technology is going to end up being able to create some amazing products very, very rapidly. When it comes, maybe these new DJI
especially things on the battlefield.
Yeah, absolutely. Instantaneous mapping of situational awareness and stuff like that. Well, I've ranted with that was the light shows. What else have we seen over this Yuletide period? Because Ian must be jumping at the beat to go.
I want to hear what Ian's got to say.
Yeah.
Come on, Ian.
Yeah,
rip into it, mate.
What's this?
Come on, you've got news for us? Something happening?
Well, I don't know if I have.
Isn't there some big revelation shortly? I saw on Twitter.
Oh yeah, I can't really go into that in a minute. Other than there will be some very likely potential Gatwick news in the next week. So another little twist to the tale. So hopefully we'll be able to talk about it on next week.
Cliffhanger, right? It was always a cliffhanger.
Yes.
And unfortunately, whilst CAA have gone on their work to rule and on strike because they want more money, I happen to know of course, it's by default, Ian is always moaning about something to them. But I happen to know of 3 other people that have got FOIAs and stuff into the CAA that's really starting to ask some quite difficult questions of them and trying to hold them to task. And I wonder. The positive nature that I have will tell me that it will get through, it will get heard, and things will start changing. But unfortunately, that's probably not what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So if this onslaught by 4 individuals, maybe I shouldn't count you in because it's just standard or default setting. But if it continues on and nothing happens, then there's going to be quite a body of evidence of, look, they ignored this, and it's different matters. It's lots of different matters. They ignore this, and this. Surely there must come a point at which they've got to start answering. You can't chuck everything.
No, they've got a lawyer to stop having to answer, haven't they, Ian? The DFT, haven't they got a full-time lawyer on this?
Well, that's the DFT. That's the DFT, not the CAA.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
The CAA have got lawyers as well.
Oh, right.
But
Yeah, I think, to be honest, I'm the least of the CAA's worries.
At the moment, yeah.
But probably for the rest of the entire year, because I mainly just ask. Usually the CAA, it's normally quite straightforward stuff, like about air proxies and the like. It's the DFT where most of my issues are, because obviously my focus is on Gatwick, and it's really them and Sussex Police. I did put in, which I probably won't have mentioned because I won't have been on the show since, but I put in 4 very significant freedom of information to Sussex Police. I basically said, look, I'm asking you the minimum here of each of these topics, but if you answer these, I'll be gone away for good. And I think that's a fair deal. Of just give us these little bits. So I've asked for like the witness statement given by the security guard. That's the first one. And one of each day. So just because they said there was about 100 and odd reliable, what they considered reliable witness statements. I said, look, I'm not asking you for them all. Just give me one from each day. And if you give me the security guards at 19, that can count as one of them. So I'm only really asking for 3. So I've kind of done that, and I think it's a fair thing. And I think if they say no, I think I've got a good chance with Tribunal of getting those. And obviously, because I've asked, they can't delete that evidence for a while. We go all the way to tribunals. So I think it would be better. It'd be in everyone's interest if they just did it. Less hassle, less cost. So we will see what happens. They have been good since things kicked off, obviously, last year. All my recent freedom of informations, they have answered, because obviously we covered them on this show about like the drone that was found and how we've had the confirmation that was sat on for 2 days. So really, it was just being used as a ammunition to the press to say, "Hey, look, we're doing something." But really, it was meaningless. But that was one of the questions, which actually is quite insignificant, really. But it's one newspaper suggested there was 2 drones found, and everyone else has said 1. And I think that's just that one newspaper getting it wrong. But I have asked just to at least know, and then again, everything's just ticked off, so we can kind of wrap up Gatwick with like, well, we've got as much as we're going to get, and the DFT. We now know they've got the lessons learned document. If we get that, I think it will be more or less wrapped up. But we will. I'm certain there will be, because there always has been. There has been further twists and things that were unexpected found. So I still think there'll be a surprise before it's kind of parked and becomes part of history.
The New Jersey situation must overwhelmingly prove how easy it is to mistake aircraft for drones. That must have a lot of weight in resolving the Gatwick thing, because look, if hundreds of thousands of people in America get it wrong, what are the odds that a couple of security guards at Gatwick got it right? I mean, seriously.
Yeah,
but it's
highlighted all the stuff we'd said with Gatwick, and that even strengthens it more, because we said this without having past cases to go against, just from the facts that were there, which were pretty concrete in themselves, or very, suggesting they're pretty concrete, i.e. you're seeing stuff when navigation lights get turned on, and the moment you stop the air traffic, you stop seeing stuff. The indications were already there, but when you have seen it on that scale, and it's actually annoying, because funny enough, this was only yesterday or the day before. Again, you've got someone, I'm a veteran. This is in the US. So freaking what? So it's like, I'm a veteran and I've seen it, so it's got to be true.
I watched Top Gun twice.
Yeah, sit yourself back down. You're not, just because you've served in the military doesn't make you an expert at seeing consumer drones.
Yes, it does.
Look at
Yes,
all the
it does.
pilots. Look at
He
all
just
the
means he
pilots
left
that
his
report
eyesight in
drones.
he just left his eyesight in the Korean War.
It's really, really, it's really.
I'm an
really,
expert.
really-
I'm
yeah.
an expert.
It's
He's in the media, so he
really,
must know.
what it actually
Yes.
created is it's creating very arrogant people that are not willing to sort of question themselves and that, because people are going, well, I checked flight
Well-
radar. I'm thinking, yes, but you're assuming that 100% of stuff's conspicuous, and it's not. So all these are tools, and they should be helping shape you. But at the end of the day, unless you've got yourself a telephoto lens and got a clear shot, but again, we've got people that are still arguing that the aircraft themselves, it's drones in the shape of aircraft and the morphing and all that nonsense. You can't even argue with that. But yeah,
because it's true. You can't argue with it.
and then what's many worse is people are now going. I'm trying to think where this had started now, but this is a thing that people are really, really arguing. And this is, I think this is even for the Lake and Heath stuff. It's just saying that, yes, this is the Tesla, the guy that blew up the Tesla and committed suicide.
I'm glad you're mentioning that, because the searches for SUAS and bless him, he spelled it with the small s. Remember, the only thing I've contributed to this industry is the small s in his LinkedIn profile. So the searches for SUAS went through the roof when that was done. So hey, in every cloud.
Yeah, the problem was a UFO channel has claimed they've got an email that they say is from him. Now anyone can say that. I could say I got an email from him. And he's saying, he's kind of saying, I'm before I leave this world, I'm going to let you all know that the US government is keeping it quiet from you, that China has invented an anti-gravity drive.
Yeah.
And these are all drones with unlimited payload being launched from submarines. Yeah. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. Now I'm like, wait a minute. If this has got an unlimited payload and China is trying to simply troll the US and over Lake and Heath and that, why doesn't it just strap the drone below the submarine and just fly the submarine right over? Go for it. If you've got your unlimited payload.
Yes.
But yes. So and the funny thing with this is people are already spotting issues with it. For example, if you look at this email here saying from it, you can see it's underlined some of the words. That happens when you're in edit mode, where you're writing the email, not receiving it.
Well, and also it's there's things like that should be capitalized in there, like SIG and OP and various things. There's all sorts of things. That's what I spotted straight away. SIG and ISR, there it is there. SIG and ISR.
People in the military have said some of the stuff doesn't actually make sense. That if you genuinely knew, it was like they're saying it's more like it's somebody that knew a few of the phrases and tried to string something together than it was from someone actually genuine. But obviously, this has gone out, and all you people want to make money off this. So doing the YouTube videos and so on, and trying to present it as genuine, and saying, "There you go, proof."
No,
and all these.
It's obviously fake. Unlike the emails that suggest that it's aliens and they're injecting signals into Flight Radar 24 to make it look like there's aircraft in the same trip. I read that.
Oh God. That's so easy to do. You don't need to be an alien to. You don't need to be an alien to do that. All you need to do.
It better.
They would do it better. It's true. Yeah, but all you're going to do is
with anti-grav.
But if you connect up a real ADSB kit to X-Plane, you can drive your aircraft in X-plane, and it will transmit that track via your real ADS-B gear, and you can wire it straight in.
Wait a
You would
minute.
never do that, would you, Gary?
Gary,
You would never
you're
do
probably
that, would you?
making mischief now. You could
No.
create a load of drones on X-plane, fly them over Lake and Ethan, just watch them all melt down.
Well,
some
yeah,
Chinese
but
lanterns as
you do that with your absolutely yes, and they would be terrible. But you can do that with that Rid spoofing thing,
Yeah.
like I did over Bruce's place, over Tokoroa. I
Looks
sat
like an
here and I
SUV from
launched-
where I was standing.
Yeah, they are loads of them. I mean, it's all of these things are so easy to defeat and spoof. And the method I mentioned with X-Plane's expensive, because that would be that you'd need that TSO device. The cheaper way to do it would be with a flipper, or what's the other thing? I can't remember the name, but it's got an ADS-B PES and it's got an AIS PES mode in it. It's handheld. It comes ready to go and send the signals. So I can't believe people said that. Why would the aliens, and as we said before, I think before we started, if the aliens managed to get their spaceship through all the satellites that are orbiting the Earth without smacking them,
Did you see what Elon said? He's got 6,000 satellites in orbit, and he's never had to move one of them to avoid a UFO.
Elon's quite into the thinking about the universe, and the bits is I've not been a fan of Elon, but he does. It's like anything. You can disagree with certain things and agree with other stuff. And his idea, and it was complete common sense, is saying we should be wanting to go to the moon and Mars and whatever, because you essentially, it's just like with your computer data, you back it up, and that's backing up humanity to other planets for, asteroid hitting or whatever. It's the only way you're going to actually keep the human race going.
Is it worth backing us up? Do we need backing up? I don't
Well,
know. We're gone. We're gone.
That's a separate debate. But if we go on for the general sentiment,
might be outside the remit of our normal chat. Yes, but yes.
So when he's talking about that as well, he's the kind of guy that if he thought there was, aliens, that kind of, he'd be quite happy. He'd be intrigued by it, and he'd be straight. And although he said that slightly flippantly, it is a serious point as well that he's saying, if there was all this stuff flying about, when you've got that much gear in space, or in an orbit where you have to be able to move around things.
We need Richard on the panel,
whizzing about. It does add again that further insight that it is all a bit bonkers.
But come on, altitude danger must have picked up
there
something.
definitely isn't aliens, because if there was aliens, all those satellites wouldn't be able to avoid, because if there were Chinese satellites, they would have good obstacle avoidance.
The Chinese don't
You're
need
saying
satellites.
that
They've got
you're saying they're all made by DJI. Is that what you're saying? They're all DJI satellites.
I'm just saying,
I thought
if they were made by DJI,
if
This got me though. Funny enough, with DJ, you've triggered another thought on this, which I was arguing at the time when they're going, China's invented this anti-gravity drive. I'm like, no, it hasn't. I said, if people were paying attention to what China does, it's spending billions in the normal multi-rotor spaces. We know with the likes of EHang and so on. It's all essentially drone technology. It's all accidentally borrowing open source and so on, and all that going on. I was like, you wouldn't be doing that. And so I included the picture where one of EHang's competitors, one of the ones that's seen as more credible because they have lots of other products, motor vehicles and so on. And they have literally got a test rig with a HERE GPS where they've wrapped what looks like a bin line around it and zip tied it on. And I'm like, that is China's technology. It's taking a GPS that's been invented in Australia and zip tying it to a frame. And you're telling me they've got an anti-grav drive just sat there they're not using instead. It's like nonsense. If you had the technology, you'd be commercializing it. You'd be like, boom, we've got an entire range of eVTOLs now. There you go.
They wouldn't be wasting their time in the US. They would be More like bothering Taiwan.
No, it's the element of surprise, you see. They're going to roll us out. No one's expecting it. They're expecting zip ties and
Where's that in the table?
Anti-grav drives.
Where's the element of surprise in the periodic table? Which number's that?
We haven't reached that yet.
Yes, the element of surprise. there it is. It's on the back. That's why it's on all those classrooms. It's on the back.
Right next to unobtainium, impervium, and nodendium.
Exactly. There they are. They're all on the back. I'm going to amend them at school next week. I'm going to put loads of things on the back. They're quite right too. Now we're definitely going on.
I see the hydrogen economy is collapsing. Hydrogen energy stocks have plunged because people are finally waking up to the fact that it's really inefficient and useless, and we've been sold a line. So it's been massive.
But the CAA just a couple of days ago put the future of the hydrogen economy thing up.
Yeah, but they're also provisioning for AAM, aren't they? They've got no clues.
I'm looking for it. Right, I think it was 2 days ago they did that. God, we would have finished on the hour if we didn't maybe go to Hydrogen Challenge. 23rd November as well. No, I don't see the very latest one.
But this shows you that, I mean, AAM, hydrogen, they're like 10 years behind the times all the way through and betting on things that
well, that must mean that it must be coming to New Zealand roundabout next week.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, 5 or 6 years out for that.
Discovered the horse and carriage. Woo!
Oh, but look at that. Well, there we are. It says it all there. Look, advanced air mobility, AI, future flight, and hydrogen. Well, there we are. It's all on one page.
It's all on one page. Where's the 3D renders? No?
Yeah.
Currency? No?
Oh, yeah.
One of the biggest hydrogen kind of depots for the entire of the UK is literally being built next door to me, or due to. So if it all falls through, that'll just be a load of empty land and unhappy people with sad faces.
You could go and fly your drone there, couldn't you? That would be good.
The Bando.
As long as it's not your hydrogen drone.
No. Your hydrogen drone, absolutely. All hot air,
There are a few.
Just madness, isn't it? I hadn't actually twigged at hydrogen. I didn't realise hydrogen was falling apart. I'm glad it is, because it's just such a silly idea, and it always has been. But there we are. It's so hard to contain. As I've said 1,000 times on this, the UK Fire Service tested it in Cardington in one of the airship sheds in their mock-up garage, and the car leaks so much they said, no way we're going to permit this for vehicles. No way. It was explosive by the morning, overnight in the garage space. So it's madness. Right, we're talking nonsense. Going once.
I'll get
there we are. There we go. Sit back, everybody. Pull that adult drink out, and here we go.
No, just with the conversation we were just having. That I thought, well, because obviously we're in the new year, so I thought I'd have a year back. It's interesting that Joby Aviation that's gone up a little, the share price, but the share price was so small anyway. It's up from what it was $6.3 US. It's now 10.27. But EHang's basically trading at the same now as what it was this time last year. And that's despite the fact, I don't know if you noticed with them, but literally every week they've got an email out going, we have signed a partnership deal with X business. I was thinking, if they made £1 for every one of these deals they signed,
Read the history of the Martin Jetpack.
I've never seen any business do that. It's just like everything is a shaking hands and deal with that. And I'm like, but when's any of this going to actually translate into a normal, everyday running business? So I was wondering here, with that having not still bumped up from all the hype, whether the insolvencies we've seen in Europe have kind of knocked the whole space at the minute of the people thinking, wait a minute, how credible is this entire sector?
Well, Volocopter have just went into, they are now looking for investors, which
There
I
you go,
can't
Stephen,
see
there's an
us.
opportunity for you. Opportunity, mate. You could
Well, I was
halve
looking.
your
I
money
was looking
overnight.
into. You could have overnight. I was looking into that, and it brought up when I was looking. I was looking at the stocks because that's obviously what I do every day. Every hour, I'm
Check
looking
your
at all my
portfolio.
stocks.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's still just full of drawings I did at high school.
He's a child of the 80s.
Yeah, absolutely. But it brought up not Red Cat. What is it? Not incredible. We get this wrong every
Yeah.
week. But have a look at their share price. Then that's they're going nuts, and they're the biggest threat to the US drone industry.
Well, they got the deputy, or they got the president-elect's bloody son or whatever on the board now. So they're assured a good future.
Yeah, I think they are, and I think they're going to shape regulation, unfortunately, obviously in their favour. And yeah, I'm not
DJI.
quite. Yeah, well, that's part of it, but I don't think they're going to help US manufacturers either. So. I think that DJI thing is a done deal from a long time ago, and now it's beginning to happen, and it's just coincidental that they'll be in when that's happening. But the way that they'll try and bugger it up for American manufacturers.
Now I understand why my Neo tried to fly back to China. As soon as that ban comes in, all the DJI drones are just going to bugger off back to mainland China, and they'll resell them somewhere else.
Yeah, so it'll be a second-hand.
It'll be
Very
DJI's
good,
revenge.
Absolutely. Did you get to a stop price there, Ian? I was hoping you would. What is the company called? I'll try and do it.
Unusual Machines?
Unusual.
Oh, that was the
I
new
don't
one,
know.
wasn't it?
I can't remember. It's such a memorable name. That's great branding, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
No one can remember the name.
Oh, hello. It's gone down. Is it Unusual Machines Inc.?
I don't know. Can't remember.
Yes, it is. It's gone down. Where do I get those fancy tickers things?
People in the know will have taken their profits. Not to suggest it's insider trading.
No. Oh, look at this. Oh, hang on. Let's share this. When I looked the other day, they were going up and up and up and up and up. But now they're going down and down and not down and down, but down 10%. 1 day, 5 days, 1 month. Yeah, that's the announcer. He's part of the board. And down it goes. How interesting. I don't know.
We're taking their profits.
So what would? Oh no, that must have been the announce. Would that have been around 29th of November?
Yeah, it's somewhere around there, I think.
That must have been around there. Yeah, and a big drop.
But it would have been
down away
at the bottom of that climb, that peak. Yeah. So yeah, no, it's undoubtedly people in the know will have taken money, will have bought low and sold high.
Yeah, well, obviously I know about all these sort of things, being a child of the 80s, as you say, and just with my file of facts and everything in hand, and off I went everywhere.
It'd be nice to know how many shares Donald Trump has in this company.
Yeah. That's because if that doesn't say
had,
because if that doesn't say, yeah, I suppose. Well, now is the time. Look, it went back above when he came in, or up high, so that would have been. Yeah, I don't know. I don't profess to know. As you can tell, I know nothing about this sort of thing.
Have I got a deal for you then?
Have you got a bridge to sell me?
Exactly.
All right, we are shares in a bridge. That's right. It's in London. It's near the City of London. That's right. It's where all the money is. Right, we're definitely talking nonsense, Steve. Wherever you are in the world, let's see if Ian's going to know. He's not going to do it again, I don't think. Wherever you are in the world, thank you very much for joining us. I hope the return to work for most people hasn't been too onerous, and I look forward to seeing you again with these skilled expert gentlemen at 2100 Gin and Tonic next week. Take care, everybody. Look after yourselves. See you.